Hello, Dr. Cisse. This is Tommy Naranjo, and I will be doing the videos for our Sprint 4 and sharing our progress during the sprint. So, to get started, we'll just go by each user story. First one is the use case was a profit and loss report. So, the acceptance criteria is the report should include revenues, expenses, and net income. And then also, the report should include a section for other financials. So, going over to our Salesforce. Here are our reports. All you have to do is click on reports to get to this page, and then they're listed. Profit and loss report. You click on that, and here it is. I'm just going to show it in Lightning because it's easier to read and show around. So here we are. We have the revenues grouped, and the name is the label, and it shows the amount, and it totals up revenues. And then expenses, same deal, totals up expenses. We were not able to figure out a formula to subtract these two. We tried for quite a bit, but we just couldn't get it. And so this is something that we'll look at for next sprint and definitely try to crack then. But we tried and could not succeed here. So the acceptance criteria is met besides being able to generate the net income. Now the other financials that it notes, this is not possible in a profit and loss report because in the example on ELC, it was said, other financials, maybe during the profit and loss report was a donation of X amount by Protiviti would be an example of another financial. It almost just seemed like those were notes that he would, the user would write out. Now, if they weren't notes, or if he wants to actually get perhaps just other donations and stuff like that, then we could look at the board member payment report. Here we are at the board member payment report. This is a use case I'll cover in just a moment, but basically this will have all the financial contributions of anyone, and these are basically where you would get the other financials. So for that user story, we said partially we were not able to get the net income. Again, we'll get this the next sprint. Next use case is I want to generate a report about all members and their associated financial contributions. So let's jump back over to Salesforce. This is the board member payment report. This was the use case. So we click on that. And again, I'm going to show it in Lightning because this is kind of hard to read. So this is the board member payment report. And the acceptance criteria was to have the name, member type, and financial contribution type, and grouped in that order, and then have totals. So basically, each person, each name will have all their associated contributions and totaled, and then it'll be grouped by member type, and that will have its own total. And then those member types will be grouped within their respective type of contribution. So dues, member dues is one, another one would be donation. And each contribution type has its own total row. And then lastly, we have a total financial contribution where it adds up all the contribution types into one total row. So for here, we had all acceptance criteria met, grand total, and the groups. It does say we should be able to specify a date to be included in the report, but that is a filter that we are not able to account for because we do not know the dates that the user would like. But that can be done very easily by going to adding a filter. So you add a filter in Lightning. It's very easy. You just type in the filter and you say financial. You type in date and you do maybe date of payment, and then you just enter the filter there. And in Classic, you can just select the filter right here. So we had all that acceptance criteria. I'm going to skip this user story for now come back to it. The next use case and user story, as you can see here, is manage board member communication, and the user story we are doing is I want to store template emails so that I can send out communications in an efficient and consistent manner. So this just being able to store documents. Let's hop over to Salesforce. This is already possible in Salesforce, so this is pretty easy. All you have to do is click on Files. Click on Files. And here we've uploaded a sample document, but basically the user would create the Word document, and have the content in there, the templated email. He wants to use it for email communications. And you just upload the file by the name. So if it was MIS top 10%, it'd be MIS top 10% template. And then when you're ready to use the document, you just click on it and click download document. And here's a preview of what's in here, blah, blah, blah. So that was the acceptance criteria. This was basically store the files for various communications, including and then all these different examples, but you can store all those different types. It's all just Word documents. So we did have, so jumping back up to this user story that I just skipped, that I said I skipped and I've come back to, this was an extra user story we wanted to point out. We know that Dr. Hugh Watson and board members may want to communicate with certain sets of members on the board. So this can be done through a report called, which we're about to cover, the board member communication report. So to explain that, we will look at the last user story and use case. So to show the use case real quick, is generate board member communication as a user story as a small business. I want to generate a report that groups all members in their respective emails based on membership. So this has the same type of filter, which the same thing applies as you have to apply the filter when you actually want to run their report. But the report functionality is all good to go. So we just click on board member communication report. You open that up, and again, I'll just show it in Lightning because it's easier to see. Here we have each member. It's sorted by member type. So the different types of members, and then email addresses. And you can export this by clicking over here, export, and you can't export it to Outlook, but yes, you can just export it in Excel. I guess to show that. So that you just click on export details and you can export it here. So we have all that acceptance criteria. Reports should be grouped by communication type, which is membership type. So that is done. Oh, and then to jump back up, to right here is the extra user story we kind of implemented here, was the ability to select criteria and communicate with certain sets of users. That can also kind of just be done with this report. You can add another filter if you'd like, but that can be done with this report. And that concludes our video for Sprint 4. Thank you for watching and your feedback in the future. Thanks.